Listen to me, one day the house will be quiet. The voice that used to call your name won't echo anymore. The door that once opened with warmth will stay closed, and you'll stand there, in a silence you never prepared for. No notifications will matter, no success will comfort you. No crowd will fill that emptiness, because some absences cannot be replaced. And in that moment, you won't ask for more time to hustle. You'll ask for one more moment with them, one more conversation, one more smile, one more chance to say, I appreciate you, but life doesn't rewind. It only moves forward. And the truth is, you're being tested right now, not later, not someday. Right now, tested in how you speak, tested in how you listen, tested in how you show up. Because honoring your parents isn't about grand gestures. It's about the small moments you usually overlook. It's about sitting with them without looking at your phone. It's about listening without rushing them. It's about responding without attitude. Because respect, real respect, is quiet. It doesn't need an audience. It shows in your tone, in your patience, in your presence. You say you're busy. So is everyone. But let me ask you something. If they weren't here tomorrow, would you still say you were too busy today? Think about that. Because time is not something you control. You assume you have more of it. But assumptions don't stop reality. And reality is, every day you're getting closer to a moment you can't undo. So what are you doing with now? Are you listening when they speak? Or are you just waiting for them to finish? Are you valuing their words or dismissing them because you think you know better? Let me tell you something. Experience is a teacher you can't replace. They've lived through things you haven't even imagined yet. And even if their words aren't perfect, their intentions carry weight. So let them speak. Let them finish. Let them feel heard. Because one day you'll miss even their simplest sentences. And your tone, watch your tone. Because the way you speak to them reveals who you truly are. Not your success, not your image, your character. Do you raise your voice? Do you get irritated quickly? Do you respond with sharp words? Or do you choose patience? Do you choose respect, even when it's difficult? Because discipline is not controlling others. It's controlling yourself. And strength, real strength, is staying calm when it's easier to react. Now look at them. Really look at them. They're not the same as they used to be. Time has touched them, slowed them down, changed their energy, and instead of frustration, they deserve compassion. Instead of annoyance, they deserve understanding. Because one day that could be you, standing where they stand. Hoping someone treats you with the same kindness you had the chance to give. So be gentle. When they repeat themselves, listen again. When they forget, remind them softly. When they struggle, step forward. Not because they asked, but because you noticed. Because real love doesn't wait for permission. It takes initiative. And never make them feel small. Not in public, not in private. Don't joke at their expense. Don't dismiss their value. Lift them up. Speak highly of them. Protect their dignity like it's your own. Because their honor is connected to yours, you see, the world may not see their worth, but you should. Because everything you are started with them. So stand by them, support them, be proud of them, even if the world calls them ordinary, because to you, they should be extraordinary. Now let's talk about gratitude, not the kind you feel once in a while, the kind you live, the kind that shows in your actions, in your time, in your effort, in your consistency. Tell them you love them, say it. Don't assume they know, because unspoken love can become silent regret. And when you do, don't rush it. Don't check the clock. Don't make them feel like you have somewhere more important to be. Because right now, there is nowhere more important. Now listen carefully. Never make your parents feel outdated. Just because the world has changed doesn't mean their value has. They may not understand technology, they may not follow trends, but they understand life. They understand struggle, sacrifice, endurance, things that no ape can teach you. So respect that, value that, learn from that, because wisdom doesn't expire. And one more thing, don't compete with them. Don't try to prove you're better. Don't make success a distance between you. Instead, make it a bridge. Bring them into your world, share your wins with them, let them feel proud. Because your success is not just yours, it's built on their sacrifices, on their sleepless nights, on their silent prayers. So don't forget that, ever. Now let's go deeper. Forgiveness. Maybe everything wasn't perfect. Maybe there were moments that hurt you, moments you still carry, but holding on to that won't heal you, and it won't honor them either, because they're human, just like you. They did what they knew with what they had at that time. So if you can forgive, not because they asked, but because you need peace, because resentment only steals time you can never get back. And time is already limited, so don't waste it. Not on ego, not on pride, not on things that won't matter in the end. Because in the end, it all comes down to this. Did you show love? Did you show respect? Did you show up? Or did you wait until it was too late? Because regret doesn't come from what you did, it comes from what you didn't do, the calls you didn't make, the visits you delayed, the words you never said. So say them now, show it now, live it now, because right now you still have the chance. And that is a blessing. Don't waste it. Not this time, not anymore. Step up, be better, be present, be the reason they feel valued, they feel respected, they feel loved every single day, because one day that opportunity will be gone. And when it is, make sure you're not left with silence filled with regret. Make sure you're left with peace, knowing you gave them everything you could while you still had them. That's your responsibility. That's your test, and that is what truly matters. So don't wait, don't hesitate, don't assume you have time, because time is the one thing you don't control. But what you do with it, that's on you. So choose wisely, starting now. Listen carefully, there's something people don't realize until life forces them to see it. Love is not proven when it's easy. It's proven when it's inconvenient, when you're tired but you still sit with them. When you're stressed, but you still speak gently. When your mind is full, but you still listen like it matters. That's love, not the kind you post online, the kind you live quietly. Because your parents never loved you based on convenience. They didn't check if they were in the mood before caring for you. They didn't say, I'll show up tomorrow. No, they showed up every single day. And now life is asking you, can you do the same? Can you show up even when it's hard, even when it doesn't benefit you, even when no one is watching? Because real character is built in those moments. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you made them feel important? Not respected, important. There's a difference. Respect is basic, but making someone feel important, that takes intention, that takes effort, that takes heart. It's calling them first, it's asking for their opinion. It's including them in your decisions. It's making them feel like they still matter in your world. Because one of the deepest pains a parent can feel is becoming invisible in their child's life. Not hated, not rejected, just forgotten. And that doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly, call by call, visit by visit, moment by moment, until distance becomes normal and silence becomes routine. Don't let it get there. Break that pattern. Today, right now. Pick up the phone. Sit beside them, Madhu. Start a conversation, not out of duty, out of love. Now listen, your parents don't need perfection from you. They don't expect you to be flawless. They just want to feel valued, heard, seen, remembered. And sometimes the smallest actions create the biggest impact. A smile, a kind word, a few extra minutes. That's all it takes. But most people, they overlook the small things, chasing big goals, big dreams, big achievements, while ignoring the people who made those dreams possible. And then one day, they wake up successful, accomplished, but empty. Because the people they wanted to make proud are no longer there to see it. Don't let that be your story. Let your success include them. Let your journey honor them. Let your life reflect what they poured into you. Because success without gratitude is failure in disguise. Now let's go deeper. Ego. Ego will ruin this if you let it. Ego says, I'm right. Ego says, you don't understand me. Ego says, I don't need to explain. But love says, let me try again. Love says, let me be patient. Love says, they deserve my best side, not my worst. So choose love over ego, every time. Even when you feel justified, even when you feel misunderstood, because winning an argument is not worth losing respect. And respect, once broken, is hard to rebuild. Now think about this. Your parents are not getting younger. Time is moving, whether you notice it or not. Their strength is changing. Their energy is shifting, their pace is slowing down, and one day they will need you the way you once needed them. The roles will reverse. And in that moment, your actions today will define who you become tomorrow. So prepare now, not with words, with behavior, with consistency, with care. Because responsibility doesn't start when things get difficult. It starts before that, in the way you treat them daily. Now hear this clearly, never make them feel like a burden. Not through your words, not through your tone, not through your silence. Because nothing hurts more than feeling unwanted by the one you gave everything to. So be mindful, be intentional, be present, and when they call, answer. When they need, respond. When they speak, listen. Because these moments, they won't last forever. Now let's talk about something powerful, legacy. One day, you will be remembered. Not just for what you achieved, but for how you treated people, especially your parents. Because the way you honor them teaches the next generation how to honor you. Your children, your family, they are watching. Learning, absorbing. So what are you showing them? That parents are optional? Or that parents are priceless? Because what you model today will return to you tomorrow. So build a legacy of respect, of care, of presence. So when your time comes, you are surrounded by the same love you gave. And not a silence you created. Now take a breath and really think. If today was your last chance, what would you do differently? Would you speak softer, listen longer, stay a little more? Stay a little more? Then why wait? Why delay what you already know matters? Because the truth is, you don't need a tragedy to start doing the right thing. You just need awareness. And now you have it. So act on it immediately. Call them, sit with them, smile at them, pray for them, serve them, love them, not tomorrow, not later, but now, because now is all you truly have. And when this chapter of your life ends, make sure it ends with peace, not regret. Not because you stopped loving each other, but because you stopped showing it. That's how distance grows, not through hate, through neglect, through small moments ignored again and again. So break that cycle, be intentional. Because relationships don't survive on assumptions, they survive on actions. On actions. Now listen, your parents don't expect luxury. They don't need perfection. They don't even need you to fix everything. They just need you, your time, your attention, your presence. That's it. And yet, that's what people give the least. Because they think it's not a big deal, but it is. It's everything. Because one day, those simple moments will be the only things left. A conversation, a laugh, a shared memory. And you'll realize that was the real wealth. Not money, not status, not achievements, but connection. Real connection, and here's something deeper. Respect is not automatic. It's practiced daily in how you respond, in how you listen, in how you carry yourself around them. Because respect is not what you say, it's how you make them feel. Do they feel valued or tolerated? Do they feel important or secondary? Do they feel heard or ignored? Those answers, they matter. More than you think. Because emotions leave marks even when words are forgotten. Now think about this. You're building your future, working hard, chasing goals, trying to become something. That's good. That's necessary. But don't build a future that disconnects you from your past. Because your parents, they are your foundation. And no matter how high you go, if you disconnect from your foundation, you lose stability. You lose meaning. So stay connected, not out of obligation, out of understanding. Because everything you are started with them. Now let's go deeper. Consistency. Anybody can show love once. Anybody can make a gesture, but consistency? That's rare. That's what builds trust. That's what builds connection. So don't just show up once and disappear again. Stay present. Stay involved. Stay connected. Because love that disappears creates confusion. And confusion creates distance. So be steady. Be reliable. Be someone they can count on. Every time. Now hear this. Never make them compete for your attention. Not with your phone. Not with your friends, not with your distractions, because when they have to compete, they start to withdraw. They stop asking, they stop expecting, and eventually they stop reaching out, not because they don't care, but because they feel like they don't matter enough. Don't let it reach that point. Make it clear through your actions that they come first. Because one day you'll wish you had made that clearer. Now take a moment and reflect, not on what you plan to do, but on what you're doing now. Are you present? Are you respectful? Are you intentional? Or are you distracted, inconsistent, caught up in things that won't matter later? Be honest. Because change starts with honesty, not excuses, not justifications. Truth. So if something needs to change, change it immediately. Don't wait for a perfect moment. There is no perfect moment. There is only decision. And that decision happens now, right here. Right when you realize what truly matters. Now listen carefully. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be better than you were yesterday. A little more patient, a little more present, a little more respectful. That's how transformation happens. Step by step, choice by choice, day by day. And over time, those small changes create something powerful. A relationship built on respect, a bond built on care, a memory built on love. And when life changes, as it always does, you won't be left with regrets. You'll be left with peace, knowing you didn't wait, you didn't ignore, you didn't take it for granted. You acted when it mattered. So act now, not later, not someday. Now, because now is the only moment you truly have, and what you do with it will define everything that comes after. So choose wisely, before time chooses for you. Listen, we're coming to something deeper now. Not louder, not faster, deeper. Because at this point, it's not about information anymore. It's about realization. And realization always comes quietly. It doesn't shout, it settles. So let it settle in you. Your parents are not just part of your life. They are the reason you have a life to begin with. And yet the human mind has a strange way of adjusting to blessings. What was once extraordinary becomes ordinary. What was once a miracle becomes routine. You stop noticing. You stop appreciating. Not because it stopped being valuable, but because you got used to it. And that's where danger begins. Because the things you stop valuing slowly start slipping away. Not all at once, but gradually, until one day you realize the silence is heavier than the presence ever was. So don't let familiarity become disrespect. Don't let routine become neglect. Because your parents are not a background characters in your story, they are the foundation. And foundations are invisible, but everything depends on them. Now listen closely. One of the most powerful forms of love is attention. Not gifts, not big speeches, attention. Being fully there. When they speak, you listen. Not half listen. Not while doing something else. Fully. Because attention says, you matter right now. And for a parent, that means everything. They don't need perfection from you. They don't need you to fix their entire life. They just need to feel seen, heard, acknowledged. And in today's world, that has become rare. Everyone is present physically, but absent mentally. Sitting together, but miles apart in attention. Don't be that person. Because absence of attention feels like emotional distance. And emotional distance feels like rejection, even when love is still there. Now think about this. Your parents once adjusted their entire life for you, their sleep, their comfort, their priorities, all reshaped around your needs. And they didn't call it sacrifice every time. They called it love. So now the question becomes, what are you willing to adjust for them? Because love is not balanced by words, it is balanced by action. And action always costs something. Time, comfort, ego. But what you gain is deeper than what you lose. Respect, peace, connection. Now hear this carefully. One day you will sit in a quiet room and everything you chased in life will feel distant. Achievements will feel smaller. Problems will feel lighter. But memories will feel louder. And in those memories, your parents will appear again and again, not as advice, not as authority, but as presence you can no longer reach. And that's when it hits people the hardest. I had time, and I didn't use it well. That sentence carries more weight than anything else. So don't let that be your story, because you still have time. But time is not infinite. It only feels that way when you're not paying attention. Now listen, respect is not just obedience, it's awareness. Awareness that they are human. Awareness that they have emotions. Awareness that they have needs too. Not just roles, not just responsibilities, but feelings. And when you treat them with awareness, you treat them with dignity. And dignity is what people remember. Not perfection, not wealth, not success, but how you made them feel. Now ask yourself honestly, when they talk to you, do they feel like a priority or like background noise in your busy life? That question matters. Because love that is not felt starts to fade in silence. Not because it disappears instantly, but because it stops being expressed. So express it, not occasionally, but consistently. Because consistency is what turns love into security, and security is what makes relationships last. Now listen carefully. You don't need to wait for a special reason to be kind. Sometimes it means emotional absence. Sitting in the same house, but living in different worlds. And that kind of distance hurts quietly. It doesn't argue, it doesn't complain, it just exists. And over time it becomes normal, but normal doesn't mean healthy. Now listen, every human relationship is built on attention. The more attention you give, the more alive the relationship feels. The less attention you give, the more it slowly fades. Not instantly, gradually, like a light dimming over time, until one day you realize it's no longer bright. It's just there, barely, and that realization often comes too late. So don't wait for that moment. Act before it becomes memory instead of experience. Now think deeply. Your parents once adjusted their entire world for you, their sleep cycles, their finances, their comfort, their priorities. They didn't wait for perfect conditions, they acted in imperfect ones. Because love doesn't wait for convenience. So now the question becomes, are you willing to be inconvenient for them? Are you willing to pause your comfort for their emotional comfort? Are you willing to show up even when it doesn't fit your schedule perfectly? Because that is where real love is tested, not in words, but in willingness. Now listen carefully. Respect is not a title you give. It's a behavior you practice. You don't have respect for someone. You show respect through how you act, through tone, through patience, through attention. And when respect becomes consistent behavior, it becomes identity. That means people don't just feel it, they experience it from you regularly. And your parents, they deserve that consistency more than anyone. Because they were consistent with you when you couldn't do anything for yourself. Now let's go deeper. One day you will look back at your life, and everything will feel different in memory. The things you stressed about won't matter as much. The things you ignored will feel heavier. And the people you had will feel irreplaceable. That is how reflection works. It reshapes priorities. But reflection that comes too late turns into regret, and regret is a heavy teacher. It doesn't shout, it repeats, quietly, over and over again. So don't learn everything through regret. Learn some things through awareness. And this is one of them. Now hear this clearly. You don't need a perfect moment to start valuing your parents. You don't need a life change. You don't need special conditions. You only need recognition. Recognition that they matter now, not later, not eventually. Now, because now is the only place action exists. Everything else is imagination, so act in reality, not intention. Now let's go deeper. Gratitude is not what you feel, it is what you practice. Feeling grateful without showing it is incomplete gratitude. And incomplete gratitude slowly becomes forgetfulness, so express it, not occasionally, but regularly, in words, in actions, in presence, let them feel it. Not assume it, because assumption creates distance, expression creates connection. Now listen, your parents will not always ask for your time. Not because they don't want it, but because they don't want to interrupt your life. They will adjust. They will stay quiet. They will accept less, even when they deserve more. And that is where your responsibility begins, not when they ask, but when you notice. So notice, pay attention, respond. Because responsiveness is love in action. Now think about this deeply. The way you treat them today becomes the memory you will carry tomorrow. And memory is powerful. It shapes peace or regret. So build memories that give you peace later, not pain. And that choice is always available. Right now, in this moment, before anything changes, before anything is lost, before it becomes too late to fix, choose wisely and choose now. Listen, we're at the part most people avoid thinking about, not because it's unclear, but because it's uncomfortable. Because now we're not talking about theory anymore. We're talking about consequences, real ones. The kind that don't reverse, the kind that don't reset, the kind that stay. So hear this clearly, life doesn't punish you all at once. It teaches in moments, small moments, repeated moments, until those moments become outcomes. And one of the biggest outcomes in a person's life is how they treated the people who raised them, your parents. Your parents! Now listen carefully, you will never fully understand their sacrifice until you become responsible for someone else's life. Until you lose sleep for someone else's comfort. Until you give up your needs so someone else can have theirs met. That's when understanding begins. But by then, you won't be learning anymore, you'll be remembering. And memory always comes with emotion. Now think about this, your parents didn't just raise you, they absorbed your chaos. They handled your worst days, they carried your weakness without calling it a burden. They made your survival look normal. But it wasn't normal, it was sacrifice. Repeated sacrifice, silent sacrifice. And now you're in a position where life is asking you, can you recognize it? Can you acknowledge it? Can you respond to it? Because recognition without response means nothing. So don't just know they sacrificed. Show that you know, through action, through time, through presence. Now let's go deeper. One of the most dangerous habits in modern life is emotional postponement. I'll call later. I'll visit soon. I'll spend time when I'm less busy. But life doesn't guarantee a less busy. It only guarantees change, and change doesn't wait for readiness. So when you postpone connection, you are gambling with opportunity. Not intentionally, but still. And most people only realize the cost after the opportunity is gone. That's the pattern. Not awareness, reaction. But you're hearing this now, which means you still have time to break that pattern. So break it. Now, not later, not tomorrow, now. Because every delay adds emotional distance, becomes unfamiliarity, and unfamiliarity becomes regret. Now listen, your parents are not asking for perfection. They are not comparing your life to anyone else. They are not measuring your success. They are simply observing one thing. Do they still matter in your daily life? That's it. Not in words. In reality is what you do repeatedly. Not occasionally, so ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you gave them your full attention? Not partial, not distracted, full attention. Because attention is love in its purest form. It says, you matter enough for me to stop everything else. And in a world full of distractions, that message is rare. Now let's go deeper. Respect is not loud. It doesn't need performance. It's subtle. It's in tone. It's in patience. It's in how you respond when you're tired. Because anyone can be respectful when they feel good. But real respect shows up when you don't feel like it. That's discipline. And discipline is where character lives. Now think about this. Your parents once adjusted everything for you without hesitation. Now life is asking you to adjust something small, your attention, your time, your presence. And somehow that feels difficult. But reflect on that, because difficulty reveals priorities. Now listen carefully. One day you will sit in silence, and your mind will replay moments you didn't think were important. A conversation you ignored, a call you delayed, a visit you postponed. And those moments will feel different then. They won't feel small anymore. They'll feel final, because hindsight always magnifies value. So don't wait for hindsight. Use awareness now. Now let's go deeper. Gratitude is not expressed through thought. It is expressed through effort. Effort to stay connected. Effort to show up. Effort to care consistently, because inconsistent gratitude is just appreciation without impact, and impact is what lasts. So make your gratitude visible. Not hidden, not assumed, visible. Now hear this, your parents don't measure your love by what you say once in a while. They measure it by how you treat them daily. That is the standard, not perfection, consistency. So meet it, not for them only, but for yourself. Because how you treat them becomes how you will one day be treated by those who learn from you. Now take this seriously. It's not only about achievement, it is about alignment. Alignment between what you know and what you do. If you know they matter but don't act like it, that gap becomes internal conflict. And internal conflict always surfaces later, in reflection, in silence, in memory. So close that gap now, before it grows. Now listen, there is still time, but time is not guaranteed to remain as still. It moves. It changes, it removes opportunities without announcement. So don't treat this as endless, treat it as available right now. Because right now is where change lives, not in intention, in action. So act, while you can, while they are here, while the moment still exists. Because one day, all you will have left is memory. And memory should not be your first attempt at appreciation. It should be your reminder that you already lived it right. So live it right, now. Before silence teaches you what presence could have. Listen, we've reached the part where words stop being information and start becoming reflection. Because everything you've heard until now was never just about parents. It was about awareness, about presence, about what you choose to value while you still have time. And now as this comes to an end, I need you to understand something very clearly. Life doesn't announce its turning points. It doesn't warn you with clarity. It doesn't say, this is the last conversation. It just changes things quietly. And most people only realize the shift after the moment has already passed. That's the pattern. Not lack of love, but delayed expression of it. Now listen carefully. There will come a day when you will sit in silence. Not because you want to, but because life will slow you down enough to make you think. And in that silence, your mind will go back to the things you ignored when you were busy. Small moments, simple conversations, ordinary days. But in memory, they won't feel ordinary anymore. They will feel valuable, irreplaceable. And that is where realization hits hardest. Because value is often recognized after availability is gone. Now think about this deeply. Your parents never treated your presence as optional. They didn't schedule love for convenient moments. They didn't postpone care until they felt less tired. They gave it immediately, even when it cost them something, even when they had nothing left for themselves. That is the kind of love you were raised in. And now, life is asking you a simple question. Can you reflect that same consistency back? Not in perfection, not in grand gestures, but in presence, in attention, in patience, because that is what they truly need now. Not validation, not repayment, but connection, real connection. Now listen, one of the most dangerous illusions in life is assuming emotional time is unlimited. You think you will always have a later. You think tomorrow will always be available. You think you will eventually say what you didn't say today. But eventually isn't guaranteed. It is just hope without confirmation. And hope without action becomes regret over time. So don't build your relationships on a later, build them on now. Because now is the only moment that actually belongs to you. Everything else is either memory or imagination. Now let's go deeper. Respect is not something you switch on during special moments. It is something you maintain daily, in tone, in attention, in behavior. Because people don't remember your occasional kindness. They remember your consistent presence. Do you remember your consistent presence? And your parents, they remember everything, even the things you think they forget, especially how you made them feel. Now think about that. How many times did they choose patience over frustration? How many times did they choose silence so you could speak freely? How many times did they choose sacrifice so your life could feel easier? Those moments are not gone. They are still part of your story. And now it's your turn to decide how their story continues within yours. Now listen carefully. Gratitude is not a feeling you wait for. No. It is a discipline you practice. And discipline always requires effort to check in, effort to show up, effort to stay connected, even when life feels busy, even when your mind is elsewhere, even when it's inconvenient, because real gratitude is not measured in words. It is measured in consistency. Now hear this. You don't need a perfect speech to honor your parents. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need perfect circumstances. You only need awareness. And awareness always exists in the present moment, right here, right now. That is your opportunity. And opportunities like this, they don't wait forever. Now imagine something for a moment, a future where you did everything right, where you didn't postpone love, where you didn't delay respect, where you didn't assume time would always be there, and in that future you sit with peace. Not because everything was perfect, but because you showed up, because you were present, because you didn't take them for granted. That kind of peace is rare, and it is earned. Now contrast that with the other possibility, a future where you remember what you could have done differently. Words unsaid, visits delayed, calls ignored, and that version of you, living with silence that feels heavier than regret, that is not a punishment, that is realization without resolution, and you still have the power to choose which future you step into. But only now, not later, not tomorrow, now. Because time is not waiting for you to become ready. It is simply moving forward with or without your permission. So don't wait for loss to teach you love. Don't wait for absence to teach you presence. Don't wait for silence to teach you value. Learn it now, live it now, practice it now. Because one day, everything you took for granted will become everything you miss. And on that day, you will not want perfection. You will want one more chance. But life doesn't always give second chances for first realizations. So let this be your realization now, while you still have the ability to act on it. Before it becomes memory, before it becomes reflection, before it becomes too late. So call them, sit with them, listen to them, respect them, not because you have to, but because you still can. And that ability is a blessing most people only recognize when it is gone. So don't be one of them. Be aware now, be present now, be intentional now. Because in the end, the measure of your life will not be what you accumulated, but how deeply you valued the people who gave you everything before you ever had anything to give back. And that is where everything begins to make sense. Not in success, not in achievement, but in gratitude. And in presence, before it's too late, live it now.